Right, this video was inspired by a couple of posts on my rheumatoid and psoriatic arthritis Facebook group, which I'll put a link to below. There were a couple of people who said that they'd been on a carnivore diet for a while and their symptoms were getting worse. Now, this really concerned me, so I offered them some free consults, and I think I've probably got to the bottom of it, but it did make me want to chat about it for anybody else who might be experiencing this. I would say that 90% of people notice an amazing benefit with carnivore diet who are autoimmune. They'll notice significant benefits within 30 days, loads within 90. But there are some who say they're not having such great results. But it totally surprised me that people were getting worse. Well, I'll look into some of the reasons why that might be and some common mistakes I've seen during my consults with people where things might not be working so well. Common mistakes on the carnivore diet. Everybody thinks, hey, just eat meat. And that's kind of simple, and it works if you're diabetic or whatever. That's going to be brilliant. But a few more things need to be taken into consideration if you're autoimmune. Now, I would say for those 90%, if you eat a diet where you exclude pork and chicken, for a while at least, and eggs and dairy, and just eat ruminant animals and fish, nice and fatty, both of them, well, especially the ruminant animals, obviously, you're not going to get any reaction. And that's going to allow the gut to heal, and away you go. But there are a few little subtleties within that people who aren't autoimmune might never even notice. See, one of the first things I'm noticing is that it takes a lot longer to heal if you've already been on medications for a while, which a lot of autoimmune people have. If somebody comes to me with newly diagnosed psoriatic arthritis, for example, and they haven't taken any meds yet, the results can be spectacular and very, very fast. But if somebody's had it for 20 years and they've been on and off methotrexate, Humira, other biologics and whatever, painkillers, everything to keep the gut leaky, and other problems, of course, destroying the liver and all kinds, you're also healing up the damage from the meds. So it can take an awful lot longer. That's not to say it's impossible. It absolutely isn't. But you've got to be patient. I think some people say they feel worse on meat. I think a lot of red meat. I think a lot of the time this can be an emotional issue. It can be you know that you just don't like it, and over the years you've found that you don't like it. But I know that's annoying because docs keep saying, oh, it's all in your head. Well, I'm only saying sometimes it's that, particularly people who come from vegetarianism and whatever, where red meat is considered far worse than chicken or fish. But I think the only real way is perhaps, maybe if somebody's been bitten by a Lone Star tick and develops a red meat allergy or something. I've heard of this. I've not seen it personally. So I think it's very rare. Sometimes you can think that you've got it right. Like, for example, when I finished my silly vegan phase and with an 11-day water fast, and in that time I'd discovered Natasha Campbell McBride and the GAPS diet. So I thought it's just a matter of eating loads of fat and meat. So I broke that fast on 11 days and I was totally clear of symptoms. It was heaven. I was so looking forward to a lifetime of being pain-free. The meal that I cooked to break my fast was a load of chicken in its own sort of broth, plus a load of butter and some salt. And I remember sitting outside in the sun, really looking forward to this meal. Nothing could harm me now. All of this meat and fat, after all of my fruit and veg, nothing could go wrong. So I ate this meal. Oh, it was so good after those 11 days. And I got up off the rug that I was sitting on outside on the grass, and I thought I'll go in and get some more. Actually, I failed because I hurt so much. My ankles were so painful. It was that fast. Now I know the problems with chicken and butter when you're autoimmune. So it just a little tale to say that that day I was totally discouraged. I thought nothing would ever work. Oh, the despair after all those years of trying all the plant-based and whatever. You know, the ways that I'm going to lay out here, the things to look for, I didn't do it this way. I went round and round and round and made all the mistakes in the book, which is why I know so many of them. All that's charted in my book, Arthritis, the Best Thing That Ever Happened to Me. You can find that on the dreaded Amazon. But I won't go so much into that. But be aware that even if you're on the right track, sometimes things can flare up before they get better. Many, many times they don't. But particularly if you've been on meds or you've been sick for a long time, this can happen. I like to think of it as, imagine your gut integrity is 100%. You've got a perfect gut. If you eat something wrong, it might take the gut integrity down to 95%, 85%. You won't even notice. But if your gut integrity is 5% or 0% or whatever the scale would be on a very leaky gut, if you eat something wrong, you're going to notice it very quickly. It's going to go down to 0 or -5 or something. You're going to get a reaction. So you need the stuff that really, really is totally non-reactionary and anti-inflammatory. If you're reacting to that, you are in such a poor state. Now, I know this sounds very much like the vegans saying, oh, you did it wrong. This isn't really quite what I'm saying, because as opposed to veganism, the longer you go on in carnivore, the more things seem to smooth out. But in veganism, you get that initial honeymoon period, and then things go wrong down the line. So it's the opposite. As I said, you know, cheating, or I call it cheating. It's not really cheating for most people. You know, eggs, dairy, egg whites in particular, chicken, pork. If someone's diabetic, that's going to be absolutely fine. You're not going to get an issue. But if you're autoimmune, you are going to react to those things more than likely. I have a video of how to reintroduce foods that I'll link below this, that I did recently, that could help you with that one, and how to see whether you are actually reacting to these foods. But that's when you've stabilized and you're symptom-free and have been for a few months, ideally. And then you can reintroduce one thing at a time. I'll link to the video. I won't go into that here. But here we're dealing with people who are still having problems on the basic beef, lamb, fish, water, salt kind of routine. Okay, my first thing, excuse me, my first thing that I see going wrong is meal timing. Now people say, when should I eat? Well, it's so simple to me. You eat when you're hungry. And actually, if you're autoimmune, see if you can leave it a while. See if you can remember the phrase, hungry means hunt, not eat. Get your digestive juices really, really strong and flowing, that old Ayurvedic Agni, get the digestive fire going before you eat. The hungrier you are, the less you're going to react to something. Now, eat when you're hungry. It probably won't be more than twice a day. It might even be once a day. But it's very important that you're very, very hungry, I would say. And do not eat too late. Now, fasting is a wonderful tool. And I think it's great for people maybe to kick off a carnivore diet if they're autoimmune, to do some fasting, knock the symptoms out very quickly. Not totally necessary, but don't eat too late. This is the only time, but you see, if you don't eat too late, let me explain. If you're hungry in the evening, too late, within 4 hours of bedtime, I'd say, that's the one time you should ignore your body. Don't do it. Don't eat. Even the best food will react, or you will react to it if you eat too late at night. You'll feel some immune reaction in the morning while the gut's still leaky. So if you have that feeling late at night to eat, I would say ignore it. This actually kind of forces a fast now and again. That's the only time I'd ever say go against nature and go against your hunger. Don't eat too late. Another thing is the fat levels. This is something you'll need to play around with. The body reacts a lot to proteins, and you know, when they get through into the blood, when they're undigested, when they shouldn't be there, especially wheat and stuff like that we all know about. But if you're eating meat that's too lean, this ties in very much with what my friend Dr. Zsofia Clements at Paleomedicina in Hungary says, and the success they're having on their PKD diet. Make sure you're eating enough fat. Fat is very healing for the gut. It's not reactive. It gives you energy. Marvelous stuff. If you're having too much reaction to your meat, the meat might be too lean, I would say. That's something to look out for. I think another possibility is histamine reactions. Now, I'm not an expert on this. I'll link maybe to the Zero Carb Zen article on histamines. I believe some people can get it from bone broth, which is so healing to most people. Some people can get it from fish or meat that is not absolutely completely fresh. The histamines build up. Not something I'm an expert on, but I'll give you a link to have a look at that if you are suffering any of those symptoms. Now, those are my main points. Stay with the ruminants and fish for quite some time until you're symptom-free, and then decide whether this is a problem. Get the meal timings right, get the fat levels right, be very hungry when you eat. Still, there is a possibility of some subtle issues, even when that's gone, but some deficiencies that you can come into with, and some that even the carnivore diet magnifies. It's not the fault of the carnivore diet, but sometimes it can magnify it. My friend Elliot Overton's done some great videos on biotin, riboflavin, thiamine. All these can be issues, but one of my favorite expressions is hose the mud off the car before you polish it. Get the inflammation right down and then see, because that huge inflammation confuses everything. When you've got that down and you've got certain little symptoms left, then you can look at that and maybe some supplementation. Maybe supplementation in the beginning isn't ideal, particularly if they're low quality supplements. Keeping the gut unhealthy, that's another thing. If you're on a great carnivore diet, even ruminants and fish and salt and water, if you're taking a bunch of supplements still, thinking you need them, cut them out for a while. Always a possibility of researching into them, getting tests to see what you are actually deficient in, and reintroducing them later on. But let the gut heal first, then you'll probably absorb the supplements better than you would right now, and they won't irritate so much. You know, some people find that they have to go raw. I've heard a lot of stories where people have finally gone from cooked to raw. Maybe you might need to do that for a while, but then some people have come back into cooked. Then they've come back into a bit of pork and chicken. Then they've come back into egg yolks. Then they come back. See my reintroducing vid for that. So those are my main things. Also, especially if you're very ill, there are other things to look at outside diet, like light, EMFs, Wi-Fi, emotional issues, toxins that you might be taking in, not getting enough sun, not getting enough grounding. I've covered these in other videos. And the more of those you do, and the less you focus completely on diet, the quicker everything's going to work anyway. Don't put it all down to diet. So, if that's helped, let me know. If you need any more information, there's my book, there's my online autoimmunity course, my Facebook groups. The links will all be below. If you want to take it really further, book me up for a consultation. Really happy to help. I bet I can spot a load of things you're doing wrong. I've done everything wrong in my time. And to take it even further, join up for The Human Unleashed. At thehumanunleashed.com, we have 30 days free at the moment, 80 hours of content, loads of stuff for you to dig into. Check that out. The links are below. And I hope that's helped. And see you next time.